Hello and welcome to Conscious Conversation number 7. And I am so excited and delighted to have Dr. Joanna Livingston with me. We go back a really long way and we've known each other since we were children, living, I think your grandma lived on the same street as my parents. So I remember you from really, really young with this gorgeous blonde hair and now you're a doctor. But we're not even talking about your Doctor of Psychology today. We're going to talk about the creative aspect of you, which is just so beautiful. So welcome everyone to Joanna Livingston. I always like to start with an angel prayer, and I thought it'd be really fitting to read the prayer to support creativity, since we're both creatives and you are incredibly creative, but we'll hear about that. Dearest angel of creative expression, help my creative ideas and thoughts to flow easily and effortlessly. Give me the confidence to express my creativity, both willingly and fearlessly. Guide me to move beyond old limitations, to lovingly accept my creative work as an expression of the divine, to love and approve of myself for who I am now, and to know that it is safe to share my heart with others, now and forever. When I accept myself as a creative being, I allow others to appreciate and respect what I have to offer. No person, place, or thing has any power over me. I'm free to be the creative genius I came here to be. Every day, I create a joyful, peaceful world to live in, one where I am free to express my creativity in a myriad of ways. I am the creative power in my world. Thank you for providing me with everything I need to live my life creatively, and so it is. Oh, I love that.
Oh,
And
thank you.
yeah, and the thing that I would love to talk to you about, there's a couple of things, but one of the things I think is really unique and different that you do is you are a Nia practitioner. So can you tell us a little bit about Nia?
Okay, so Nia is a movement practice, mostly dance based, but it also combines martial arts and healing arts. So Nia stands for neuromuscular intuitive action,
Ooh, can you
or
say
in the
that
late
again?
neuromuscular, so neuro, brain,
Uh-huh.
muscular, body, integrative action.
Oh, I love that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Um, Now, it actually, some people say it stands for Now I Am.
Oh, I love that too. Uh-huh.
And when it started at the beginning, it was stood for non-impact aerobics.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of changed over the years, and apparently now it's Nia.
Right.
But basically, it combines dance, martial arts, and healing arts. So the dance forms are modern dance, Duncan dance, and jazz dance.
What's
The
Duncan dance?
Duncan dance is the form of dance based on the moves of Isadora Duncan, who
Oh,
did a lot of the
yes.
swirly
Mm.
movements. Yeah,
Ballroom
and
type.
quite free. Pardon.
Was it like she did like ballroom type dancing?
Yeah, but it was very floaty. She used a lot of scarves and
Mm-hmm.
movements, swirly moves. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
very free
Mm-hmm.
and expressive. And then the martial arts is Tai Chi. So it's the slow moves of Tai Chi using the breath.
Mm-hmm.
The Alexander technique, which is a lot about lengthening and widening,
Oh, wow.
elongating, widening, opening up. And Aikido, which is circular moves coming from the core. So the 1 point, they call it. So it's a lot of circular movements. These are all the martial arts moves.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have healing arts, which is yoga. Sorry, I said Alexander technique, but that's actually the healing arts, because Taekwondo, punches and kicks, is one of the martial arts.
Mm-hmm.
So the other healing arts is yoga, Alexander technique, and Feldenkrais, which is all about sensing your body and it's very good for pain management. So the
Well, so
whole
sorry, I was going to say it's so interesting that you mentioned Feldenkrais because someone told me that that would be a really, really good thing for me to look into. So that's really interesting.
well, I actually came to Nia through Feldenkrais route because I had quite a lot of back pain, and I
Mm-hmm.
went to the Brighton Natural Health Centre,
Uh-huh.
which ran lots of different dance and healing classes, and I started with Feldenkrais, which is based on the works of Moshe Feldenkrais.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very big in Israel. I think he is from Israel. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very helpful for pain management and just for general movement and well-being.
You know, that makes total sense, because the lady that I heard about Feldenkrais from, I met her in a park last week when they were having a picnic, and she was Israeli. So that's, there's your wee cat in the background. Oh, that's
Hello.
lovely.
Cats always like to join conversations.
What's your cat's name?
Ruby.
Oh, I love it. Wow. How did you get into Nia? Like, how did you actually decide to become a Nia practitioner and teacher?
Because that's really a great question, because dance has always been a hugely integral part of my life.
Mm-hmm.
And when I look back on my life, I always danced since the age of 3. I did ballet, and I used to go about 3 times a week to ballet until I was about 15 or 16. So it was a really huge part of my life.
Uh-huh.
And then I realised I wasn't going to make it to ballet school because I wasn't really the right shape, size, or, I wasn't good enough, most likely. Oh, there's a cat just leapt beside me. Anyway, and then I started to do other dance moves, and I used to do a lot of contemporary dance. I'd always gone to dance class through my life. Then when I was living in London, I did a lot of choreography with kids, a lot of dance stuff.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Wow.
I was living I'm working in Hammersmith, and I did quite a lot around that area.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I was doing a lot of the choreography side of things. And then I hurt my back, like I said, and managed to get back into movement through Feldenkrais, yoga. But I really missed the freedom of dance and the music. And so, as I said, I saw a Nia class at this Brighton Natural Health Centre, went along, and I felt like I could move again. It wasn't the same kind of expressive movement. And then when I moved back from Brighton up to Glasgow, I thought, right, I'm going to find out if there's any Nia in Glasgow.
Mm-hmm.
Weirdly enough, I Googled it, and Debbie Rosas, the founder of Nia, originally from Portland, Oregon, was in Edinburgh doing a workshop.
Wow. So she'd gone from America to Scotland.
She was just visiting. She happened to be visiting when I thought, I'm going to see if there's any Nia in Glasgow.
Oh my goodness, that's amazing.
And I went along to this workshop in Edinburgh, and it was Debbie Rosas and another Nia teacher who's well known, and you could Google her. Her name's Shannon Day. She's also an amazing vocalist, and she was a model at one point, I think, and she's just very expressive. And she was living in Edinburgh for the year. She actually filmed a song called Free. And she's kind of singing and dancing in the Highlands in Scotland. It's amazing.
I love that.
I think you'd really like it. Yeah. So I went to this workshop, and there was loads of people there, and I met these gorgeous women, lovely, really friendly, from the east coast of Scotland, who said, oh, you must come and see us and dance Nia, and we've got the training headquarters in Scotland, in this place called Burnt Island that I hadn't heard of, that was near Edinburgh.
Wow.
Yeah.
I've never heard of Burnt Island actually either. I've never heard of it until you told me about it.
Yeah, you can get the train across from Edinburgh across, it's the Forth Road Bridge, and it's on the coast, so it's beautiful. It's a lovely town by the sea, and if you're on the beach, you can see over to the other side is Edinburgh.
Right. Wow.
So I discovered not only these people and Nia, but this beautiful community in Burnt Island.
Amazing. And how far away is Burnt Island from you, from Glasgow?
By car, it's about an hour and a half.
Wow.
So
do you know,
too...
it's so funny. I keep hearing about all these amazing places in Scotland or even in Europe right now since I've been in America. And I'm like, oh, I can't believe I never actually got to these places while I was over there. And now I'm here. Yeah. But it's all good. Maybe one day.
Yeah, exactly. They're not going anywhere. I know. Oh.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's so cool. And then, so after you took the class and met the founder in Edinburgh, was it at that point that you thought, I really want to teach now, I really want to take this back to Glasgow?
No, yeah, I remember speaking to people who lived in Burnt Island, and they said, oh, we have the trainers, because Nia's all about different trainers. We had a trainer from Idaho and from Italy, who would come every year and run. It's a belt system like martial arts. So
Right.
in order to teach, you have to do a white belt. So they were running it in this place at Burnt Island. And that summer I couldn't do it, but they said, why don't you try for next summer and come back and train? It's a week's intensive that
1
covers
week.
almost a year's worth of work, but really intensively, sort of from 7 in the morning till 7 at night.
Wow. In 1
learning
week?
all this stuff. Yeah.
So you would go for a week, you would do the intensive, and then by the end of the week you would get your white belt, or you'd be awarded the white belt.
That's right, yeah.
Wow. And are you learning, like, I know that there's probably tons of routines and different music, but are you also learning all, like, how do they teach you? Is it anatomy of the body? Is it the different core values of Nia? Like, what's the layout? How do you actually, like, without going into too much detail, what's
Yeah,
the
I know, because
general,
there's a
like,
lot about the
learning?
philosophy. There's the
Right,
philosophy and there's a practicality of Nia. And
right.
yeah, it's a sort of quite a lifestyle practice, like yoga is,
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot behind that.
Yes.
So yeah, there's different belts. I can't remember the Nia, the white belt is called the art of sensation.
Oh,
And
wow.
the blue belt is the art of communication, which I've also done. The
Mm-hmm.
brown belt, which I've not done, I can't remember. I think that's more about energy. And then there's
Uh-huh.
the black belt, which is more mysterious. I don't know so much about that. Brings it all together.
Right.
So yeah, the white belt is a lot about, like you say, anatomy and movement in the body,
Mm-hmm.
right down to kind of the basics.
Well, I have to say that I tried when I was in Glasgow, I came to a couple of your classes and I absolutely loved it because
Oh,
I'm so into music. I love like world music, and the music that you were playing for these dance moves and these classes were just phenomenal. And I mean, I don't keep it a secret that I was diagnosed with MS a few years ago. I don't really feel like I'm ill or anything really bad with my body right now. I feel very blessed. But I remember feeling like after a Zumba class that I was doing in America a few years ago, I found it quite hard to move to the left. And so I was wondering if I'd be able to do the Nia class that you were running. And because it was so free flowing and non-judgmental, and everyone could just move the way they felt like moving to this beautiful music in this gorgeous space that you'd find, I just absolutely loved it. So yes, I
oh.
loved that class.
That's so good to hear. I mean, I'm now running Zoom classes. I don't know if the time suits you, but on a Wednesday at 12, on a Sunday at 11.
11, so 12 p.m. GMT. So that would be one,
At midday.
yeah, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4. That's 4 in the morning for me. Maybe I'll set
Maybe
my
not.
alarm for 4 a.m. and get up and do a
Yeah.
swirly Nia class. I'm sorry, I don't think that's going to happen. But I've had the taste of your class, which I absolutely love. Where does the music come from? Like, where do they find the
So
music?
a lot of it, some of it is by actual Nia people. They've got Nia sounds. So some of it is actually developed specifically for Nia.
Right.
And it's within Nia sounds.
Uh-huh.
Some of it is global and it can be found on Spotify. There's some Nia routines that can be found there.
Right.
And it's different, genres and different countries and different styles,
Mm-hmm.
which is what's beautiful about it. But
Mm-hmm.
as I say, some of it's specifically designed or developed for Nia.
And also, the other thing I really loved about the class is that there's always an intention. It seems like there's always an intention at the beginning, and so you go round in a circle, and each person says what their intention is. Is that right? I think that's what you
Yes.
did.
Well, there's always a focus and an intention. So, for example, this week the focus was flexibility, with
Mm,
the intention of being able to just move that little bit further, move the joint or the muscles to feel a bit elongated, longer or wider.
mm-hmm.
And so each move, each song, each track in the routine focused on a different element of flexibility. So if it's the shoulder joint, just thinking about if we're rotating, it's rotating it that wee bit further,
Mm,
just to
yeah.
kind of become more flexible in a specific area, or the wrist. So if you're going to normally maybe just rotate the wrist, then rotating it just that little bit more, going a little bit further, if you can see it on the
I
screen.
love it. I
Yeah.
love it. Even the way you're moving, it's like, oh, if we got prepared, like had thought that we were going to be talking about this in depth, then I probably would have said, let's hear some music, but you might not be able to hear it clearly through Zoom, like through this, if you just play it. If you want to check out any of the Nia type music, you can go into Spotify or just Google Nia music, and I'm sure things will come up. Because it really is beautiful. Really, I think it really aids the whole movement, the whole class. It's a massive part of the class, isn't it?
Yeah, the music literally kind of can move you. Yeah,
Mm.
or you can be moved by the music.
And also, I saw that you were doing Nia classes on the beach, like outside. That, oh,
Well, some of them were in Burnt Island. I remember last summer we got up at whenever it was sunrise, whenever that was in the summer, and we combined it with a beach clean and coffee on the beach. It was just
oh,
beautiful. It was amazing.
sounds
And the women
great.
from Idaho did this whole big water dance, and it was all about raising awareness and raising money for conservation. And
Oh,
yeah, I know, and
that's so
clearing.
wonderful. And this it's interesting because a lot of people have never heard of Nia. Like it's not available everywhere, right? I mean, some gyms offer it, right? Some gyms, but
Yeah.
there's a lot of people that really don't know about Nia. So, do you think the intention for the whole Nia organization, for the network, is to have it even more recognized around the world?
Yeah, I mean, we're always trying to raise the profile of Nia. Like, there's Zumba, and most people have heard of Zumba, but like you
Yeah.
say, not so many people have heard of Nia. And there's a lot of conversation about whether it's, fitness and it fits into a gym, or whether it's more in the wellness area and fits more within holistic centers or
Mhm.
within health centers. And actually it can be all those things.
Yeah.
But and we're
Uh-huh.
always trying to raise the profile, but maybe we haven't raised it enough. Because I
Mm.
always think that it's probably people know about it in America, but it maybe not,
I think there
because there's
actually
more
is an
teachers. But
I think there is a Nia class in the gym that I was a member of before Corona. I stopped my membership just probably about 5 months ago, and
yeah,
it's funny because I've been really thinking about the fact that I've just not been exercising at all. Like I've not been exercising while I've been in lockdown, and I really really want to. But my go-to exercise was swimming. But now that we're talking about this, I almost feel like if I could find a track, a Nia, or maybe on YouTube, if I saw a dance. I mean, do you record your sessions? Do you record
I
your
was thinking that I
classes?
should maybe start. Sorry, what did you say?
No, I was going to say, if you recorded your classes, I would love that because then I
I
could
should
actually
start
do it.
recording, or I could do a one-to-one with you if you wanted. We set up a time, and I just did some moves to a
Uh-huh.
couple of tracks and gave you the tracks.
Oh, that would
That
be
could be an idea.
amazing. I mean, either way, I just think it would be because I could see myself doing that. Because for me, that actually feels like beautiful exercise. It incorporates everything, and it's a really, I just feel like it's a really lovely, gentle way to get your body moving and to music that just really speaks to your soul, speaks to my soul anyway. Yeah.
Well, that's it. It's soulful.
So I love that. Well, I'm so grateful that you've been telling us and teaching us all about Nia and that we're talking about it and bringing it into consciousness and into awareness for other people to hear about. There's also another thing that I would love to talk to you about for maybe another 10 minutes, which is your newfound passion that, can I say, can I say what it
Yes,
is?
that's
I
fine.
mean, it might not be newfound to you, but I didn't realize that you were such a talented photographer. And every photograph that you send me is absolutely out of this world. And I should have realized because when we were in Glasgow together and you would send me, no, I realized when I was in Glasgow and I was taking Jack the dog for a walk in Maxwell
Yeah.
Park, and you would take pictures that day and I was there, but then the pictures that you would send me later that day were absolutely stunning, and I was like, when
Oh,
did you
right.
get that? Like, yeah. So have you always been interested in photography?
Yeah, well, that's interesting. I know, because I was actually in the park today and took lovely photos of squirrels, really
Oh,
nice, but that doesn't answer your question. Have I always been interested in photography? If I look back, then yes. I travelled a lot when I was sort of in my 20s. So I travelled around Australia and New Zealand, but I do remember the light in Australia really inspiring me. And I remember a lot of the sunsets on the beaches, just really focusing on that light. And I've got a picture still from Byron Bay when the light was going down, and I now know that it's the blue hour, just before the hour before sunset, and those surfers and just the colour of the sea and the sky was just amazing. And I travelled around New Zealand, and so I've got millions of photos from all of that time. And I think from then onwards, I've just always taken a lot of photos. Yeah. And when I lived in Brighton, the sea and the light's always something I've liked to capture. And actually, I'm just remembering when I did the West Highland Way in Scotland, that also inspired me for photography.
So tell the listeners, for those that don't know, what the West Highland Way is.
That is a walk in Glasgow. Well, it's like a trek. It's a 96 mile, so you can do it roughly in 6 days from just outside north of Glasgow, so Mulgai, up to Fort William, where Ben Nevis is, and it goes right along the path of Loch Lomond.
Oh my gosh.
Into the Highlands.
That's amazing. What an incredible thing to do. I mean, if anyone wants to see Scotland in a really grassroots way, that's probably a fantastic way to do it, or parts of Scotland anyway. Yeah. Wow, that's amazing. So yeah, so the photographs that you've sent me recently are like, they look like they're out of a magazine. Like, they're absolutely amazing. So are you planning to like sell any? Are you planning to, I think you mentioned about maybe furthering your career in photography. What are you going to do with it?
Well, I did get very excited last week when I sent you some photos from the local park and just looking at some of the architecture. I do love the architecture in Glasgow. And it's love well photographing.
Is that, are you talking about Charles Rennie Mackintosh influence, or just in general the architecture of the buildings?
In general, just looking at the tenement flats, looking up. They always say look up. You can see gargoyles. You can see a lot of the wealth from the merchants around Merchant City. So I love just looking around. There's always something to see. Just and there's Alexander Greek Thompson, a couple of his places as well.
Do you know, it's so funny. Growing up in Glasgow, I never ever appreciated it at all, and it wasn't until my adult life, years and years later, whenever I would go back, and I had someone with me that wasn't from Glasgow, and we'd be walking through the streets, the city centre, and they'd be looking up and going, "Wow, I can't believe that up there, and that architecture." And even Sean, my partner now, who's obviously American, but when he was walking around Glasgow, and he was blown away by the architecture, like the actual sculptures and the pieces of art that are just embedded in the buildings in the city centre. It's really quite amazing, isn't it?
I know, and something we took for granted because we're just used to seeing them.
Or I didn't even notice. I don't think I even noticed as a kid, or when I was like, in high school, as they call it here.
The flip side is, I suppose, when it's raining, it doesn't always look so amazing.
But you don't want to walk. You don't want to walk like that. You don't want to put your face up.
No, exactly. Yeah. But what did you ask me?
So are you going to take it somewhere? I was
really excited last week, and I thought, right, I'm going to do a photography course, and I was Googling, and there was this British School of Photography or whatever course, I can't remember what it was. And I am excited to do it, but it's a lot of work. It takes commitment. There's 10 pieces of work to do, or whatever, to submit. So I am thinking about it. And it costs money, but it's not way out with my budget, so I am considering that, but I'm also aware that I'm busy with other things, so maybe not at this point in time. But then you did mention something like, you could put something together for a calendar, and that's
absolutely
an interesting idea.
I mean, the photographs that you take is almost like you would never know that you hadn't studied. It's like you just have this talent, and it's funny because talking about time and divine timing and all of that, I mean, my dad was always into taking photographs, and it wasn't until he retired that he became really focused on his photography and went to school. He went back to school, and the first day that he walked in the college, when he walked in, all the kids that were like 19 or 20 years old like saw this older man walking walking in the front and walking all the way to the back of the room, and he sat down with them, and they were like, "Oh, is he not a teacher? He's like one of us." So they were all like, "Nick, are you coming out for a drink with us? Nick, hey." But he's so talented, and he blows me away as well, just because, he took a hobby that he always loved, taking photos of us as we grew up, and just really making it a business. And he had, he is totally fascinated and loves the Waverley, the Clyde
Yes.
steamer. So that was his focus, and he has a following, because all these expats that live in different countries that remember the Waverley when she was sailing from island to island when they were younger, years and years ago, when all these Clyde steamers were still working and being used for business. So I just love that you can really do anything at any age of any stage and any age of your life, whenever it feels like the right time for you. So.
Oh, I love that idea. And it's weird because I was sending you photos and then suddenly remembered that your dad was that very person who developed that talent of his. And it's very easy to talk yourself out of things. I mean, I'm aware of that, and I don't tend to talk myself out of things, but I'm just trying to be realistic about it, and not even like, oh, I don't have time, but just thinking about how can I use this thing that actually I'm realizing I really love.
Oh, you can tell. I mean, maybe I can post some of your photographs when I post this Zoom conversation. I mean, it's just like, they're really beautiful, and I just think you're onto something. I really think that you have a great gift.
Thank you. I mean, it's difficult for me to judge. I don't know, compared to, because really, there are some amazing photographers out there, so it's difficult to judge. But what I do know is that I really enjoy taking the photos and creating a story from them.
Mm-hmm. And that's what I love. I talk about that all the time, about how when you find something that you really love doing and you're passionate about it, it absolutely flows through you. And it's just, it really, it shines a light on the world. It lifts people up because they can feel it through your art or your expression. So whoever's listening out there, whatever you really gravitate towards, that you really love doing, that makes you feel good and feel alive and vibrant because it's something that you really love doing, then do that thing. It doesn't, we don't need to judge ourselves. It just comes through us, and it's effortless. It's easy for you, right? You just do it, and you're right.
Yeah.
You don't have to think about it.
No, I mean, you're just reminding me that I went to the Linda McCartney photo exhibition that came to Glasgow. Last year, and her photos were, a lot of them were just very, I wouldn't say ordinary, but they were taken of ordinary things. Yeah, they were her life, everyday life,
right,
along with photos of Paul McCartney.
Paul McCartney, like everyday life of the Beatles.
Yeah, and the Beatles. I know, so it wasn't entirely everyday life, but a lot of things. No, she took a lot of, it was interesting, a lot of photos in Sussex and the bluebells and the nature around Sussex, but also, as you know, they were, the song Mull of Kintyre, they spent a lot of time in Scotland and Kintyre, and I kind of related to that. So I used to take a lot of photography down in Sussex, and then I'm up in Scotland, and actually I love the weather as much as I don't like I've mentioned already, the rainy weather. What's amazing is the skies can be amazing and stormy, and the weather changes so quickly that actually it's quite fascinating to take photos. I have to
agree. Like, there's something really magical about the Highlands of Scotland, and it doesn't matter what the weather is, because we, being Scottish, have always talked about the weather and how it's raining a lot or it's cloudy. But when you're up north in Scotland, like, it can be pouring with rain, or it can be really dark and grey, but the scenery is so spectacular that you just feel like you're in a movie. Or often I would find that I would be in a single track road by myself for like a long time, like an hour, and I just felt like I was in the most beautiful scene.
Oh, wow.
Oh my goodness, we're out of time.
Oh, okay. We could talk for ages.
I know. I can hear some background noise actually from my side. I think it's the neighbours, so I'm sorry if it's for the listeners if it's sounding. Oh, good. It might.
I just hope you can hear me okay, because I'm kind of like leaning.
Yes. Anyway, Jo, it's been so wonderful talking to you, and thank you so much for sharing your gifts and your passions of Nia and photography. And hopefully, the people that are listening will feel very inspired and be able to follow their passions as well.
Great.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much. Talk to you next
Oh,
time. Bye.
bye. Thanks.
Thanks,
Bye.
Jo.